Have you ever seriously thought about what it would take to live to be 100? I mean, it's a question we've all been fascinated with forever, but here's the thing. Today, it's not some fantasy. It's becoming a reality for more and more people. So in this explainer, we're going to go on a quest to figure out the formula for a long and, maybe more importantly, a healthy life. Let's get into it. Okay, look at this number. 422,000. That's a big one. Why? Because that's the projected number of Americans who will be over the age of 100 by the year 2054. That is more than a fourfold increase from where we are today. This isn't some slow, gradual change. We're talking about a demographic tidal wave.
And that, of course, leads to the million-dollar question. How are they doing it, right? Is it just a genetic lottery ticket? Is it a lifetime of doing everything perfectly? Or is there something else going on? To figure that out, we've got to look at the data.
And that data points to something we can really only call the 100-year boom. You see, making it to a century isn't just a wild anomaly anymore. It's becoming a real demographic group with its own super interesting patterns. What's really wild here is just the speed of it all. Just look at the jump between 2010 and 2020. The number of centenarians in the US shot up by 50% in a single decade. And that growth is on track to just skyrocket over the next 30 years, getting close to 500,000 people. Now, no huge surprise here, women are overwhelmingly dominating the 100-plus club. They make up about 78% of all centenarians right now. But here's a fascinating little twist. The number of men living to 100 is actually growing at a much faster proportional rate. So that longevity gap, it might just be starting to get a little bit smaller. Okay, so the numbers tell us what's happening. But to really understand the how, we need some kind of blueprint. And you know what? A really great place to start is by looking at where the world's longest-lived people tend to cluster together. This brings us to what we're calling the Centenarian Blueprint. All those lifestyle and environmental things that give people the best shot at a long, healthy life. This is the nurture side of the whole nature versus nurture debate. You've probably heard of these. Researchers found 5 specific spots on the globe where people reach age 100 at up to 10 times the rate of people in the United States. They called them blue zones. The whole idea was to study these longevity hotspots to see if they could find some kind of universal recipe for a long life. And guess what? They found one. They managed to boil it all down into 9 evidence-based principles they called the Power 9. These are the things that all the blue zones have in common. Things like move naturally, which means, they're not hitting the gym for an hour, they're gardening and walking everywhere. Or purpose. They call it Ikigai in Okinawa, which is basically knowing your reason for waking up in the morning. It's a whole lifestyle, not just a to-do list of healthy habits. Now, let's zoom in on diet for a second, because the contrast is, well, it's night and day. The diet in these places is about 95% plant-based, and beans are a huge cornerstone. In Okinawa, they practice the 80% rule. It's an old saying that reminds them to stop eating when they feel about 80% full. I mean, that is a world away from the super-processed, meat-heavy modern diet most of us know. And if you want to see the power of this blueprint in action, listen to this incredible story. There was a guy named Stamatis Moretus, an Icarian who lived in the US. He was diagnosed with lung cancer. Doctors gave him just a few months to live. So he decided to just move back home to the blue zone of Icaria. He got back into the local food, the local lifestyle, and he didn't just outlive his diagnosis, he lived for another 37 years and famously said, "I just forgot to die." It's such a powerful story. But is a blue zone lifestyle the only thing you need to make it to 100? Is it the whole story? Well, researchers started to think that there was another, maybe equally powerful force at play. And that brings us to the nature side of the argument. The big quest to crack the genetic code of what it takes to live an extremely long life. Okay, this is a really crucial point. For most of us, getting into our late 80s is about 80% lifestyle and 20% genes. But to cross that finish line into the 100 and beyond club, studies show that ratio basically flips on its head. The influence of your genes becomes way, way more important. You pretty much have to have won the genetic lottery. But winning the lottery doesn't mean what you probably think it means. Take a look at these different pathways to 100. Only a tiny fraction, about 15%, are escapers, the ones who get to 100 without any major age-related diseases. The huge majority are either delayers or survivors, which means they do get sick, but they're incredibly resilient. They don't escape disease, they just endure it and bounce back. And this, right here, might be the most mind-blowing genetic discovery of them all. As it turns out, centenarians have just as many disease-linked bad genes as the rest of us. The difference is they also have this unique cocktail of protective, good genes that seem to just cancel out the risks. So it's not about having a perfect genetic slate, it's about having a much, much better defense system. So, where does all this leave us? It's this really complex dance between nature and nurture, right? Let's try to bring it all together and figure out the big takeaway. I think this quote just sums it up perfectly. Genes load the gun, lifestyle pulls the trigger. Your genetics might set the potential for a long life, but it's your lifestyle and your environment that ultimately decide whether you actually get there. And, at the end of the day, the real prize isn't just a long lifespan, it's a long health span. That's the number of years you live in good health. And this is where centenarians are just rock stars. A staggering 90% of them are still functioning independently at an average age of 93. They aren't just surviving, they are seriously thriving. So how can we actually apply this? The Blue Zones project has this really practical concept called the life radius. It's the 5-mile area around your home where you spend like 90% of your time. The idea is to just optimize that little bubble for health. Tiny little tweaks like putting a fruit bowl on your counter instead of a cookie jar, or finding a walking path to a coffee shop, these things can mindlessly nudge you toward healthier habits. So in the end, it really all boils down to this. You can't go back and pick different genes. That ship has sailed. But what you absolutely can do is shape the world immediately around you. So the real question isn't about the secrets of centenarians. It's what's one small change you're going to make today